She stood at the head of the conference room table, her voice commanding, her eyes burning with ambition. To the world, she was the founder of a booming skincare empire, self-made, unstoppable, the very definition of modern success. To me, she was my wife. And as I sat in the shadows of the back row, I realized I'd built her throne, only to be exiled from the kingdom she now ruled alone. My name is Daniel. 43. Born and raised in Ohio. Former firefighter, now a logistics consultant, nothing flashy, but steady. 10 years ago, I married a woman named Eva Morales, and I believed, in that way you believe before life teaches you better, that we were building something together. Eva had the vision. I had the spine. She wanted to start a skincare company, something clean, science-forward, elegant. I didn't blink. I took out a second mortgage on our home, drained my 401k, and spent countless nights building her warehouse, her website, and her dream. I even quit my job for 2 years to help with distribution, licensing, payroll, all the stuff no one sees. She called me her silent general. Said I made her brave. So when she came home one afternoon, calm as still water, and said she wanted a divorce, I didn't believe it. At first. I just think we've grown apart, she said. You want quiet. I want more. She didn't cry. Didn't fumble for the right words. There was something surgical in her delivery, like a breakup she'd rehearsed. And then came the kicker. I've spoken to my attorney. We'll try to make this amicable. But legally, the business is mine. I built it. I blinked. She built it. I nearly laughed. Not because it was funny, nothing about it was funny, but because of how bold the lie was. I'd been in the trenches every step of the way. But when I pushed back, she stayed cool. Dismissive. You don't have equity, Daniel. You're not listed on the LLC. It's all in my name. I paid you a salary. Technically, you were a contractor. Technically. I should have screamed. But I didn't. I just nodded. Because something in me, the same instinct that once kept me from running into a burning building without checking the roofline, told me this wasn't a conversation. This was a heist. She'd already looted the vault. So I played my part. The stunned husband. The quiet one. I let her think I was folding. But I wasn't folding. I was studying. The lawyer I found wasn't cheap. But she was sharp. Her name was Monica Patel, 39, lean, calculating, the kind of woman who files her nails while cross-examining a witness. I met her through a friend who owed me a favor, and when I laid out what Eva had said, Monica leaned back in her chair and said, "She's trying to erase you from the narrative. That's not just immoral. It's dangerous." What are my chances? I asked. Depends, she replied, steepling her fingers. You said you weren't on the LLC. Are you listed on any business documents? Payroll ledgers? Bank wires? I nodded slowly. Not the official ones she filed, no. But I have emails. Texts. Bank transfers. Screenshots. Some QuickBooks reports she asked me to pull before we got her a real accountant. Monica smiled for the first time. Now we're talking. She gave me homework. Start documenting everything. Every dollar. Every late night. Every weekend you worked logistics in the garage while she was at networking events. I knew what that meant. I'd been slow to ask the questions. But I wasn't naive. When someone suddenly wants a divorce without warning, and with legal paperwork in hand, they've been planning it longer than you think. 2 weeks into the amicable separation, Eva moved out. A sleek condo downtown. Claimed it was easier for her mental health. Said she needed space to heal. I knew better. A week later, I checked the mail at the old house. There it was, a bank statement addressed to her company, from a bank I didn't recognize. She always used Chase. This one was from an offshore branch in the Cayman Islands. I didn't open it, not yet. But I did take a photo. And I made a note. Later that night, I drove to our old office building. The place we'd rented together in year 3 of the business, when it became too big to run from the kitchen. I still had the spare key. I waited in the dark parking lot for 3 hours before the lights finally flickered on. He walked in before she did. 6 foot something. Tan. Square jaw. Designer everything. I remembered him from an industry gala 2 years ago, her marketing director, she said. His name was Brian Kent. I thought he was a clown. Turns out, he was the one she was building an empire with behind my back. They stayed inside for 2 hours. I didn't see them kiss. Didn't need to. What I saw was worse, the way she laughed with him, the way she leaned on his shoulder as they looked over blueprints. She hadn't just replaced me. She'd erased me. When I got back to Monica's office, I placed the photo of the offshore bank envelope on her desk. Her eyes narrowed. "Tell me everything," she said. And I did. About the condo. The guy. The lies. Monica leaned forward. "We're not just going for a divorce," she said. "We're going for scorched earth." And that's when I knew. Eva had built her business on my back. But I was about to tear it down brick by brick. People think revenge looks like fire. Screaming matches. Slashed tires. A man standing outside a woman's office with rage in his eyes and gasoline in his hands. That's not how I do business. Revenge, real revenge, looks like a man sitting in his garage at 3 a.m., surrounded by old tax folders and thumb drives he hasn't touched in 6 years. It looks like quiet, relentless digging, paper cuts and red eyes and coffee that tastes like ash. That was me now. Monica called it the build. If she's smart, and she clearly is, she's hidden assets. Offshore accounts, shell vendors, maybe even fake payroll for people who don't exist. We're going to find every single one. I knew Eva had secrets. What I didn't know, not until I started digging through our backup drive, was just how long she'd been planning my erasure. There were old spreadsheets labeled innocuously enough, Q3 inventory analysis or retail projections. But the formulas led to hidden sheets, buried tabs filled with personal transfers, multiple small withdrawals just under the reporting threshold. Brian Kent's name didn't appear, not directly. But I did find one invoice from a boutique marketing firm in Tampa. The name on it rang a bell. I Googled it. There was no office. No reviews. Just a single listing, dissolved, 18 months ago. Eva had been wiring thousands to a ghost company. And I was willing to bet it was Brian's doing. Or hers. Or both. I compiled a folder, encrypted it, and gave Monica a copy. She reviewed it in silence, occasionally nodding, her mouth tightening with every passing page. Then she leaned back, stretched her arms like a prizefighter before a match, and said, "We're going to file for injunctive discovery. If the judge signs off, we'll subpoena every one of these banks. If she lied about her assets, it's perjury. And perjury? That's leverage." 2 days later, I received the notification that Eva was pushing forward with the divorce. Filed under, irreconcilable differences. No mention of shared business interests. No proposal for joint custody of our golden retriever. No acknowledgement of the decade we'd built together. The documents were sterile. Cold. Just like her. Then came the meeting. She invited me to her lawyer's office. To keep things civil, she wrote. Monica told me not to go. I told her I had to. I needed to see it for myself, how far she'd gone, how much of her soul she'd burned just to walk away clean. Eva showed up in all white. Not an accident. She always knew how to use color like a weapon. She smiled politely. Her lawyer did the talking. We believe it's in both parties' best interest to move quickly. Eva is offering a generous lump sum in lieu of alimony. I looked at the number. It was insulting. They thought I'd take the check and disappear. Crawl away, grateful to be thrown a bone. I smiled back. No deal. Her smile twitched, just barely, and I saw the flicker of something she hadn't shown in weeks. Fear. Over the next month, Monica and I built a case piece by piece. We subpoenaed her business records. We traced the offshore account from the Cayman Islands to a dummy corporation in Nevada. That trail led us to another, a storage unit in West Palm Beach registered under her sister's maiden name. We got access. Inside were 3 external hard drives, a designer briefcase, and a notebook filled with Brian's handwriting, lists of VIP clients, inventory logs that didn't match any public records, and handwritten notes like, move funds after payout confirmation. Confirmation of what? We were about to find out. Then came the jackpot. One of the hard drives was filled with surveillance backups. Camera footage from the warehouse, the conference room, even her office. Apparently, Eva liked to document everything, not for safety, but for control. And in one of those files, dated 6 months before she asked for a divorce, she said this. Once the payout from the acquisition hits, I'll be done with Daniel. He doesn't know anything. He'll take whatever check I write him and disappear. He still thinks we're partners. Laughter. We stopped being partners the minute I opened that second LLC. He just doesn't know it yet. I played the clip 3 times. Then I emailed it to Monica. 3 weeks later, we were in court. Not for the final hearing, not yet. This was the motion to compel full financial disclosure. And Eva showed up in the same white dress. Like she was still playing the role of the wrong spouse. Her lawyer argued that everything was in her name. That I had no material claim. That any involvement I had in the business was supportive, not foundational. Monica stood. Calm. Unflinching. Your Honor, I have reason to believe the defendant has concealed no fewer than 3 corporate entities, has been channeling funds through fraudulent vendors, and has committed perjury in her financial disclosures. Eva's lawyer tried to interject. Monica raised a hand, clicked her laptop, and the courtroom fell silent. Then the video played. Her voice. Her smirk. Her confession. I didn't look at Eva. I didn't have to. Because I could feel the heat radiating off her. Could hear her breathing shift. Could see the cracks in the Ice Queen mask she'd worn since the day she walked out of our house. The judge granted the motion. And then he turned to her lawyer. I suggest your client cooperates fully, he said dryly. Because if she doesn't, I'll be inclined to revisit her credibility. And from what I've just seen, I doubt she'll enjoy that. Outside, Eva didn't say a word. But her eyes told the whole story. She'd miscalculated. She'd tried to cut me out, quietly, cleanly. But now, the storm was mine to command. There's a special kind of silence that lives in a courtroom hallway. It's not peaceful, it's loaded. Heavy with glances, with posture, with the unspoken rules of war. I sat there, shoulders square, tie loose, watching Eva talk to her lawyer 10 feet away. She wouldn't look at me. Not anymore. 2 months ago, she still called me Danny. Now she wouldn't even say my name. Good. That meant I was getting close. After the judge granted our motion for full financial disclosure, things moved quickly. Faster than Eva liked. Her team tried to stall, filing procedural delays, asking for extensions, claiming technical complications with her accounting software. Monica saw through it all. This is smoke, she told me over coffee one morning. They're hiding something bigger. The delays mean we're closer to it than they expected. And she was right. We discovered Eva had funneled over $1.2 million through a series of side ventures, all unreported. One was a consultancy, paying Brian Kent $20,000 a month. Another was a research fund with no listed researchers. And then there was a luxury condo in Miami, bought in the name of her sister's LLC, but listed on Airbnb as a business executive retreat. It was fraud. Cleanly dressed, but fraud nonetheless. Monica drafted a new motion. Intent to pursue marital asset misappropriation. In plain English, she tried to cut me out. Now we were coming for it all. We knew she'd strike back. And she did, with everything she had. Within 2 weeks, I'd received a cease and desist accusing me of malicious interference with her business. A countersuit claiming I'd emotionally abused her during our marriage. A motion to disqualify Monica from the case, citing conflict of interest. The last one almost made me laugh. Monica read the claim, scoffed, and said, "Tell Eva next time she wants to play chess, she shouldn't bring a checkerboard." The court denied all of it. But the countersuit? That one hurt. Even when you know it's fabricated, there's something nauseating about seeing your name on paper next to the word abuser. I didn't sleep that night. Just sat in the kitchen replaying every argument we'd ever had, every slammed door, every time she cried and I didn't know what to say. Were we perfect? No. But abuse? That was her rewriting the narrative, because she'd lost control of the old one. Still, Monica was ready. "We expected this," she said. "It's her queen's gambit. You boxed her in, and now she's sacrificing everything, even her credibility, just to gain one square of the board." But what she didn't know was this: I had my own gambit ready. It started with a storage unit. Not hers, mine. One I'd rented under a different name 6 months before she filed for divorce. Inside were backup drives, copies of handwritten notes, old emails, and receipts, some going back 8 years. I didn't keep them for revenge. I kept them because I'm the kind of guy who still prints out digital contracts and keeps a binder of car maintenance. But now, that tendency to archive every detail became the sharpest blade in my arsenal. Inside one manila folder was a receipt for the first payment ever made by the skincare company, signed by both of us. She'd forgotten about it. But I hadn't. It was for a down payment on our original manufacturer. $9,700. Paid from our joint account. And that signature. It made me a co-founder. Legally. On paper. I handed it to Monica in silence. She looked it over, nodded once, and said, "She's going to regret underestimating you." Then came the deposition. A cold conference room, 2 court reporters, 3 lawyers, and Eva, seated across from me in a gray suit like she was still trying to play the respectable executive. She didn't look at me when I walked in. But when Monica placed the folder in front of her and said, "Can you verify this signature, Ms. Morales?" her eyes finally met mine. And for the first time since she left, I saw something break. Not fear. Not guilt. Just realization. She knew she'd lost. But it wasn't over. The court date for the final hearing was now 6 weeks away. Long enough for her to keep maneuvering. And she did. She filed a PR campaign, subtle, strategic. Articles appeared online about divorcing gracefully, navigating toxic relationships, finding your power. Each one dropped little hints: a woman betrayed, a business built against odds, a nameless ex who tried to take everything. The comments section was brutal. People bought it. Because she was beautiful. Articulate. Successful. And me? I was invisible. But that was the last mistake she'd make. 2 weeks before the hearing, I scheduled a call with an old friend, Jacob Rains. Former Navy. Now runs a private tech consultancy. The kind of guy who can find anything buried deep enough in metadata. He dug up deleted email logs from Eva's old accounts. They showed correspondence between her and a brand investor she'd lied to, promising a clean balance sheet and no outside financial entanglements. Except I was one. Legally. Financially. Historically. Jacob flagged them, timestamped them, and cross-referenced them with documents Eva had already submitted under oath. Inconsistencies everywhere. False statements. Legal dynamite. We packaged it all up, tied it with a bow, and handed it to Monica. Her smile this time. It wasn't polite. It was lethal. The final hearing was getting closer. Eva didn't know it yet, but she was standing on a platform built on lies, and we just pulled the pins from underneath. And me? For the first time in months, I was sleeping again. Because I knew what was coming. And when the truth finally hit the courtroom, it wouldn't whisper. It would roar. Courtroom 3B. Tuesday. 10:07 a.m. I stood behind the plaintiff's table, straightening my tie with hands that didn't shake. Not today. I looked around, polished wood, flags in the corner, the quiet shuffle of lawyers and clerks. The air was too cold, the lights too bright. But inside, I felt calm. Today, the truth would speak for itself. Eva sat across the aisle, flanked by her legal team. Hair pinned up. Flawless makeup. Her face a porcelain mask, beautiful and unreadable. She didn't look at me. Maybe she couldn't. Monica leaned over. Stay neutral. No smirking. No gloating. Let her bury herself. I gave a single nod. We were here now. All that mattered was precision. The judge entered. Everyone stood. The bailiff called the court into session. Case number 27-81B, Morales vs. Morales. Asset distribution, marital dissolution, and counterclaims pending. The judge, a woman in her 60s with a sharp voice and sharper eyes, glanced over the stack of motions, affidavits, and filings. Then she looked at Eva's side. You filed claims of financial independence from the plaintiff, she asked Eva's counsel. Yes, Your Honor. We maintain that Ms. Morales solely built her business post-marriage and therefore owes no spousal equity or compensation beyond basic division of jointly held property. Monica stood. Respectfully, Your Honor, we have evidence of marital funds used to launch the business, co-signed contracts, and hidden assets. We also allege perjury and financial misrepresentation. The judge raised an eyebrow. I'll hear both arguments. Call your first witness. Eva's lawyer rose. We call Ms. Morales to the stand. She moved like someone rehearsed it 100 times, slow, confident, no wasted motion. The oath was spoken. She raised her right hand, her voice steady. Then came the performance. I built this company from the ground up, she said, eyes locked on the jury box though there wasn't one. My husband supported me emotionally, but I handled the financial risk, the strategy, the vision. Her lawyer asked questions that gave her soft landings. She painted me as passive. Helpful, sure, but ultimately just a man, encouraging from the sidelines. And then it was Monica's turn. She stood, silent for 3 long seconds. Then. Ms. Morales, can you confirm the date your company was founded? Eva blinked. March 18, 2016. And your husband's name appears nowhere on the incorporation documents? That's correct. Monica approached the bench. Permission to submit Exhibit C. It was the signed vendor agreement, the first manufacturer. With both our names. The courtroom stilled. Monica turned back. Would you like to amend your testimony, Ms. Morales? Eva's eyes darted. That was just a favor. He was helping. I handled the money. Monica's voice never rose. And yet this was paid from your joint account. which, according to bank records, was the source of at least 11 business expenses in your first year. Shall I list them? Eva folded her arms. I don't recall the specifics. Oh, I can help with that. One by one, Monica introduced receipts. Emails. A photograph of a whiteboard from our garage with both our handwriting. A voice memo where Eva said, "We're finally off the ground, babe." Our company. The judge took notes. Silent. Stern. Then came the final nail. Your Honor, Monica said, we submit Exhibit H, a video recording from the defendant's office surveillance, in which she states, quote, "He thinks we're still partners. Once the acquisition clears, I'll be done with him." Eva went pale. Her lawyer stood. Objection. Sustained, said the judge. But the context is relevant. Eva's hands trembled. She finally looked at me. I didn't smile. I didn't flinch. She tried to rewrite history. But the ink was permanent. We recessed. The courtroom buzzed. Her team huddled. Monica handed me a bottle of water and sat beside me. She'll settle, she said. By the end of the day. How do you know? Monica tilted her head toward Eva, who was now hunched over, her mask cracked at the corners. Because liars always look strong. Until the truth walks in. They made the offer at 4:42 p.m. We were seated in a small, sterile conference room, the same place where Eva once handed me divorce papers like they were a wedding gift. Now her lawyer slid a folder across the table, crisp, white, too clean. Monica opened it. No words were exchanged for a full 30 seconds. I watched Eva. She wasn't wearing that white power suit today. She'd changed at lunch, now in navy, darker, quieter. Her expression unreadable again. She'd reapplied her makeup, but no amount of powder could hide the fatigue behind her eyes. She wasn't fighting anymore. She was negotiating survival. 35%, Monica said aloud. Of business equity. A lump sum of $225,000. Joint custody of the dog. No public statement. No NDA. I raised my eyebrows. She doesn't want an NDA. Eva spoke for the first time. No. I want you to say whatever you want, Daniel. You earned that right. That almost got to me. Almost. But I remembered the video. The offshore accounts. The way she leaned on Brian Kent's shoulder while telling the world I'd abandoned her. Monica was stone. We reject. Eva's lawyer sputtered. That's more than fair. Not for fraud, Monica said coolly. Not for 10 years of buried assets, fabricated vendor invoices, and a smear campaign. We're not here for generosity. We're here for correction. She slid the folder back. Eva stared at it. Then at me. Her voice cracked. Then what do you want? I spoke softly. Truth, Eva. But since we both know that's not your currency, I'll settle for everything else. We filed a counterproposal the next morning. 50% equity in the business, retroactive to its founding. 70% of liquid assets, citing fraudulent concealment. Control of the house. She could keep the Miami condo, if she disclosed the rental income. A written statement of full financial disclosure under penalty of perjury. 1 year of therapy reimbursement, paid by her company. And yes, the NDA. This time, my terms. They balked. Naturally. But the judge had seen enough. The fraud was documented. The timeline airtight. The paper trail damning. When her team tried to paint me as a bitter ex, the judge interrupted. This is not bitterness. This is restitution. Eva finally caved. It wasn't tearful. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet. The night after the final hearing, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. A single line. "I never thought you'd follow through." I didn't reply. Some things don't deserve answers. People ask me if I miss her. Sometimes. There were moments, real ones, that meant something. Sunday mornings when she'd read poetry over coffee. The night we launched the first product and danced in our living room, barefoot on shipping boxes. But the woman in those memories and the woman who walked away from our marriage like it was a failed startup, those weren't the same person. I miss who she pretended to be. And now, I don't miss pretending. The business eventually rebranded. New logo. New leadership. Brian Kent was quietly removed from all public materials. I don't know if she's still with him. I don't care. I sold my stake a year later for more than double what I would have earned in the original settlement. Moved out of the old house. Bought a place near the water. Nothing fancy. Just peace. Some nights I sit on the porch and watch the tide roll in. I think about silence. How it used to feel like weakness. Now I know, silence is just patience in disguise. They say time heals everything. They don't tell you what to do with the pieces it leaves behind. It's been 7 months since the courtroom. 4 since I sold my stake in the company. 2 since I moved into the new place on the coast, quiet, modest, and facing the kind of horizon that makes you forget you ever lived inside someone else's storm. But healing isn't a straight line. It's more like a loop. You circle back through the same memories again and again, hoping they hurt a little less each time. Some do. Some don't. It was a Sunday in late fall when the letter came. Real paper. Real ink. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting before I even opened it. Eva. Monica had warned me this might happen. People like her don't like loose ends, she said. They come back not to reconcile, but to reframe. They want control of the story again. The envelope sat on my counter for 2 days. On the 3rd, I opened it. It started with a line that read like a headline, "This isn't an apology. It's context." Of course it was. She wrote that she'd been unraveling for years, that success had warped her sense of reality, that every time I supported her, she felt more like a fraud. She said the worst thing wasn't that she betrayed me, it was that she expected me to stay anyway. She called me dangerous in your stillness. Said I made her feel like she had no place left to hide. There were pages of it, rationalizations dressed as reflections. Lines like, "I was always terrified you'd see through me, and when you didn't, I resented you for it." And, "You built the walls that protected me. And I climbed over them to escape." I didn't finish it in one sitting. I folded the letter, made a pot of coffee, sat on the porch, and let the wind take what it wanted. I never wrote back. But I did write something. Just once. Late that night, I opened my laptop and typed a letter to her. A letter no one would ever read. Not her, not Monica, not even the dog. It read, "Eva. I don't hate you. I did. For a while. Not just for the lies, but for how little you thought I'd fight. You counted on my silence like it was a flaw. You thought it made me easy. Disposable. But silence is where I do my best thinking. And when I think, I rebuild. You were right, I wasn't loud. I wasn't flashy. But I watched everything. Every shift in your eyes. Every story that didn't add up. Every late night where you said it was work but came home smelling like guilt. I gave you every chance to walk away clean. You chose to walk away cruel. And I responded not with noise, but with clarity. I'll never speak your name again. Not in anger. Not in longing. You'll just be part of the past that taught me how to live differently. That's what you are now. A lesson. Not a love story. D. I saved it in a folder called Unsent. Then I closed the lid and let the night take me. People ask how I'm doing. Truth. I laugh more. Sleep better. Eat slower. I don't check my phone every 10 minutes. I don't scan through emails wondering what truth is being hidden between bullet points and expense reports. I'm just, me again. I picked up carpentry, made my own coffee table. Got into trail hiking. Started reading paperbacks again, not PDFs. And last week, I met someone. Nothing serious. We talked for 2 hours at a bookstore cafe. She asked what I did, and I said, used to build things for other people. Now I just build for myself. She smiled. Sounds like the right direction. Yeah. It does. Victory doesn't come with trumpets. It comes in quiet mornings. Clean countertops. Unread letters in the drawer. And the absence of anything that feels like chaos. It's been over a year now. The headlines died down. The company restructured and rebranded, now with a new face in marketing, one without a scandal attached. I stopped tracking the business altogether. Whatever happens to it now has nothing to do with me. The chapter closed. I didn't slam the book. I just turned the page. The house I live in now is small. Clean lines. Lots of windows. It's tucked on a quiet road with a view of the bay. I built the fence myself. Took 3 weekends, a sore back, and a few curse words when the lumber warped in the sun. But when I step outside and run my hand across the grain, I remember, this time, every nail, every plank, every decision, it's mine. No shared accounts. No hidden motives. No co-pilot trying to steal the plane. Just me. I've reconnected with friends I lost touch with. Not because they picked sides, but because during the storm, I disappeared. I didn't return texts. Didn't answer calls. Didn't want to explain what I didn't fully understand myself. But real people, they wait. We grab coffee now. Watch Sunday games together. Sometimes, they still ask, you ever hear from her? I just shake my head. Not anymore. That's the whole answer. There's something strange that happens after you win. Especially when you win the right way, not with vengeance, but with facts. With truth. With patience. You expect it to feel like a parade. Champagne. Fireworks. But instead, it's a calm tide. You don't dance. You exhale. And then you build. I found an old photo the other day. Tucked in a book I hadn't opened since the year we launched the business. It was me and Eva in our garage, standing in front of stacked boxes and a whiteboard full of ideas. We looked exhausted. Proud. Young. For a second, I smiled. Then I flipped it over, and without thinking, I wrote in small, blue ink. Some things are still worth starting, even if they don't last. Then I threw it in the fire pit and watched it curl. Sometimes people ask what I learned. What I'd tell someone going through what I did. Here's the short version. Never underestimate silence. It's not weakness. It's observation. Planning. Control. The loudest man in the room isn't always the one winning. Document everything. When your world falls apart, truth becomes your sharpest weapon. Keep the receipts, literal and metaphorical. Find a good lawyer. Not the most expensive. The smartest. The one who doesn't flinch when they see fire. Don't try to ruin them. Just tell the truth. The truth does a better job of burning bridges than you ever could. Leave. Fully. Not just the person, the version of yourself who stayed too long. Mourn him. Then outgrow him. There's peace now. Not the kind you rent with a beach vacation. The kind you earn with battle scars and grace. The kind you build after the storm's past and the walls you raise are finally for you. I don't need revenge. I got something better. I got my life back. And I know exactly who I am now. I'm the man she thought would stay quiet. I'm the man who didn't.